Richard Hayes rolled his wheelchair through the double doors of the Atlanta Mansion ballroom, silencing the jazz quartet mid-note. Every champagne glass froze midair. Behind him stood Vanessa, 25, caramel-skinned, wearing diamonds that matched Monica's own collection. "Don't stop the music on my account," Richard announced, his voice carrying across the stunned room. "I'm just here to deliver a birthday gift. If the person you gave your life to humiliated you on your birthday, would you cry or clap back? The Hive viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Warm welcome to the family. Enjoy the story." Monica Hayes stood perfectly still in her emerald gown, the candles on her untouched cake flickering shadows across her face. 45 years old today, 18 years married, and somehow she'd known this moment was coming. Richard's lawyer appeared beside him, manila folder in hand. "Divorce papers," Richard said, loud enough for the society photographers to hear. "I figured why waste time with private meetings when we could settle things efficiently." The guests, Atlanta's elite, charity board members, old college friends, shifted uncomfortably. Phones appeared, recording. This would hit social media within minutes. "Efficient," Monica repeated, her voice steady. "That's always been your specialty, Richard." She walked toward him, heels clicking against marble, each step measured. The room held its breath. Would she cry? Scream? Create the scene he clearly wanted? Instead, Monica smiled. Not the practiced social smile she'd worn for fundraisers and galas, but something sharper, more dangerous. 18 years ago in Chicago, she said softly, leaning close to his ear, though her mic pack for the evening's speech was still active, broadcasting to the room. "The Hayes Building on Wacker Drive. July 16th, Vernon's signature. The medical examiner's initial report." Richard's face drained of color. "Happy birthday to me," Monica whispered, straightening up. The manila folder slipped from the lawyer's fingers. Papers scattered across the floor. Vanessa's confident pose faltered as she glanced between them. "This party's over," Richard snapped, wheeling backward so abruptly he nearly ran over his lawyer's foot. "Actually," Monica said, raising her voice, "I think it's just beginning." As security escorted Richard out, Monica turned to her guests with remarkable composure. "I apologize for the interruption. Please enjoy the rest of your evening." But the room had already fractured into whispers. Phones buzzed with notifications. The damage, or perhaps the liberation, had begun. In the private bathroom off the main hall, Monica finally allowed her hands to shake. She gripped the marble counter, breathing deeply, meeting her own eyes in the mirror. The door opened behind her. Marcus Davis, head of security, former military, a constant presence for the last 5 years, stepped inside and locked the door. "Mrs. Hayes." His voice was low, concerned, professional, except for how his eyes held hers in the mirror. "The situation is contained for now. Mr. Hayes has left the premises." "Thank you, Marcus." She turned, suddenly aware of how close they stood in the small space. How his cologne, subtle cedar notes, had become familiar, comforting. His hand reached up, hesitated, then gently touched her shoulder. "Are you all right?" The simple question, the first genuine concern anyone had shown her all night, nearly broke her. She leaned forward slightly, her forehead almost touching his chest, then caught herself. "I will be," she said, straightening. But she didn't move away from his touch. His fingers lingered a moment too long before dropping. "The guests are leaving. Your daughter called? She's catching the first flight home from Boston." Monica nodded, gathering herself. "You didn't think I knew. All these years. Some men mistake silence for weakness," Marcus said quietly. Their eyes met again in the mirror. Something unspoken passed between them. Something that had been building for months in glances across rooms, in late-night security briefings, in the careful distance they'd maintained. "I should get back," she said finally. Marcus nodded, stepping aside to unlock the door. "I'll be right outside if you need me." The words hung in the air between them. "I'll be right outside if you need me." She already did. When Monica returned to the ballroom, only her closest friends remained, watching her with worried eyes. The birthday cake sat untouched, candles burned down to stubs. She practiced this smile for years, the one that made powerful men forget she was collecting their secrets. Tonight, that collection would buy her freedom. For 18 years, she'd been Richard Hayes' perfect wife, his caretaker after the accident, the face of his philanthropy, the silent partner who knew every account number, every business connection, every buried truth. He thought tonight would break her. He was wrong. When someone tries to humiliate you publicly, would you crumble or strike back with devastating precision? The choice reveals everything about your survival instinct. Chicago, 18 years earlier. Snow fell outside the window of the corner apartment on Michigan Avenue. Monica Mitchell, 27, fresh-faced, ambitious, sat cross-legged on the hardwood floor surrounded by cardboard boxes. "This is the last of them," she called out, taping shut a box labeled kitchen. Richard appeared in the doorway, loosening his tie. At 35, he already carried himself with the confidence of someone who owned whatever room he entered. Dark hair just starting to silver at the temples. Custom suit. The kind of man who stood out even in Chicago's financial district. "Leave it for the movers," he said, checking his Rolex. "We're already late for dinner." Monica glanced around at the half-packed apartment. 2 months of dating, and suddenly they were moving in together in his downtown penthouse. Everything was happening so fast. "I just need to finish." "The reservation's at 8, Richard interrupted, already turning away. "Wear the blue dress I bought you. Taylor Investment Group will be there." After he disappeared into the bedroom, Monica sighed, reaching for the last box, one of Richard's that had been delivered from his office. The lid wasn't secured properly. As she adjusted it, a folder slipped out, spilling papers across the floor. She quickly gathered them up, noticing the Hayes development letterhead, financial documents, property assessments, and a handwritten note. Vernon agrees to sign. Meeting set for Friday. Bring cash. Something about the wording made her pause. She slipped one page in her purse before returning the rest to the folder. Later that night, at Citron, Chicago's newest upscale restaurant, Monica sat beside Richard as he charmed potential investors. Under the table, his hand rested possessively on her knee, squeezing whenever she spoke too much. "And what do you do, Monica?" asked Taylor, the silver-haired investment firm partner. Before she could mention her MBA program, Richard answered for her. "Monica has excellent taste. She's helping redesign our corporate office spaces." She forced a smile, though she'd never mentioned interior design as an interest. Was it how he saw her? Decoration? "Actually, I'm finishing my..." Richard's phone rang. He checked it immediately, his body language shifting. "Excuse me, I need to take this." As he stepped away, Monica caught Taylor studying her with something like pity in his eyes. "Been together long?" Taylor asked. 6 months, she said. "It's been intense." Taylor nodded, swirling his bourbon. Richard moves quickly when he wants something. The Hayes family always has. "You know his family?" "I knew his uncle Vernon before the falling out. Shrewd businessman. Ruthless, even by Chicago standards." "Vernon," the name from the note. Richard returned before she could ask more, his expression tense but excited. He leaned close to her ear, his breath hot against her neck. "Change of plans. We're flying to Atlanta tomorrow." "Atlanta? But my final exams." "I just got offered the Riverside development deal," he whispered, his hand sliding higher on her thigh under the table. The gesture was both intimate and controlling. But they want a family man, not a bachelor. Conservative investors. Monica stiffened. "What are you saying?" Richard pulled a small box from his pocket, opening it below the table line where only she could see. A diamond ring glittered inside. Ostentatious, clearly expensive. "Say yes," he murmured, lips brushing her ear in a way that once would have thrilled her. "We'll announce it tonight, fly to Atlanta tomorrow, close the deal by the weekend." Her mind raced. This wasn't a proposal. It was a business transaction. Yet something in his touch, the intensity of his gaze, still made her pulse quicken. "Richard, this is too fast. We barely know each other." His expression hardened slightly. "I know everything I need to know. You're beautiful, smart, presentable. You'll be an asset to Hayes Development." His voice softened, becoming the charming Richard who'd pursued her relentlessly. and I can give you everything you've ever wanted." That night in his penthouse, Richard's passion overwhelmed her hesitation. His hands moved expertly over her body, his mouth hungry against hers. She gasped as he lifted her against the wall, her blue dress pushed up around her waist. "Say yes," he demanded between kisses. "Yes," she breathed. After, as they lay tangled in his sheets, Richard immediately checked his phone, scrolling through emails. Monica watched his profile in the dim light, trying to ignore the unease settling in her stomach. His phone buzzed. He answered immediately. "Vernon," he said, sitting up. "It's done. We're flying in tomorrow." As Richard disappeared into the bathroom, Monica stared at the ceiling. She'd fallen for his promises while he'd fallen for her usefulness, a distinction that would cost him everything when the bill finally came due. Have you ever ignored warning signs because desire clouded your judgment? What price did you pay for that mistake? The morning after her ruined birthday party, Monica stood at her kitchen window, watching rain streak down the glass. News vans lined the street beyond her security gate. Overnight, #HayesDivorce had trended nationally. Her phone hadn't stopped buzzing with notifications. Friends offering support, reporters seeking comments, Richard's lawyers making threats. "Mom!" Monica turned to find Zara in the doorway, still in travel clothes. At 19, her daughter had Richard's sharp cheekbones, but Monica's determination. She caught the red eye from Boston after seeing the viral videos. "You should have called me immediately," Zara said, dropping her backpack on the counter. "I had to find out from my roommate showing me TikTok." "I didn't want to interrupt your finals," Monica replied, pulling her daughter into a hug. Zara stiffened before reluctantly returning the embrace. "So it's true? Dad's divorcing you? For that Instagram model?" Vanessa Cohen, 25, his physical therapist assistant. "Classy," Zara muttered. "And he ambushed you at your own birthday party? With photographers present. Your father has always understood the power of public perception," Monica said, turning to pour coffee. "He wanted to control the narrative." Zara studied her mother's face. "You're weirdly calm about this." Before Monica could answer, her phone rang. Elise Gardner, her attorney and former college roommate. "Monica, tell me you haven't spoken to any reporters," Elise said without preamble. "I'm not an amateur." "Good. Richard's legal team has been busy. They're filing for emergency financial controls, claiming you've been misappropriating funds." Monica's hand tightened around her mug. Meaning by noon, you might be locked out of all joint accounts, properties, and the foundation." "He can't do that," Zara protested, having heard through the speaker. "He can try," Elise corrected. "And with Judge Wilson presiding, Richard's golf buddy, he might temporarily succeed. I need you to transfer what you can immediately." "I prepared for this," Monica said. "The offshore account is ready. And I need you to contact someone named Vernon Hayes in Chicago. Richard's uncle." "The estranged uncle? What?" "Because he's our leverage." Monica moved to her study, retrieving a small key from inside a hollowed-out book. "I'm coming to your office. There are documents you need to see." After ending the call, Monica found Zara staring at her. "Mom, what's going on? What did you mean you prepared for this?" The security system chimed. On the monitor, Monica watched Marcus's car pull through the gate past the reporters. "Your father thinks this divorce is a business transaction," Monica explained, unlocking a hidden wall safe behind a painting. "That he can discard me like an underperforming asset. And you're just now getting angry about this?" "No." Monica removed a flash drive and a folder of documents. "I got angry years ago. I just waited for the right moment to do something about it." The doorbell rang. Monica checked the security camera before unlocking it. Marcus stood on the porch, rain dampening his suit. "Mrs. Hayes," he said formally, aware of Zara's presence. "The situation outside is escalating." 2 more news crews arrived, and Mr. Hayes' assistant attempted to access the property. "Thank you for coming, Marcus," Monica said, stepping aside to let him in. Their eyes met briefly, that same current passing between them. Zara looked between them, her expression shifting from confusion to dawning realization. "I'll secure the perimeter," Marcus said, breaking the moment. The alarm system needs recoding. Mr. Hayes likely knows the current one. As he moved through the house, checking windows and doors, Zara crossed her arms. How long has that been going on? Nothing's going on, Monica said too quickly. Mom, I have eyes. Monica sighed. Marcus has been our head of security for 5 years. He's doing his job and looking at you like you're the air he breathes. Does Dad know? There's nothing for your father to know. But heat crept up Monica's neck. Marcus and I are colleagues. Right. And I'm failing calculus, Zara said sarcastically. Which I'm not, by the way. Before Monica could respond, her phone chimed with a banking alert. She checked it, her expression hardening. Your father just emptied our joint account. $3 million gone. Zara's eyes widened. Can he do that? Legally? No. Practically? He just did. Monica gathered her documents. I need to go see Elise. Stay here. Marcus will keep you safe. As she passed through the living room, Marcus was changing the keypad by the front door. His fingers moved efficiently over the system. The new code is set, he said, turning toward her. They were momentarily alone, Zara still in the kitchen. Are you sure you want to drive yourself? The media will follow. I need you here with Zara, Monica said quietly. His hand brushed against hers as he handed her the security fob, a touch that lingered. His fingers were warm against her cool skin. Be careful, he murmured. Richard is desperate. Desperate men make mistakes, but they're also dangerous. Monica nodded, suddenly very aware of how close they stood. I've lived with dangerous for 18 years. The flash drive in her hand contained 18 years of patience, and one night of truth that Richard thought $3 million had permanently erased. She just hoped it would be enough. When betrayal forces your hand, do you choose calculated justice or emotional revenge? Your answer determines who holds true power. One overlooked detail can collapse your entire defense. Subscribe to catch every strategic move first. Chicago in November felt colder than Monica remembered. As her cab crawled through morning traffic toward the north side, she pulled her coat tighter, watching her breath fog the window. 18 years since she'd left this city. 18 years of collecting evidence, recording conversations, and waiting for Richard to make his fatal mistake. The cab stopped before a brick townhouse with a small front garden now dormant for winter. Monica paid the driver and stood on the sidewalk, studying the building. According to her research, Vernon Hayes had lived here for the past decade. Alone, reclusive, cut off from the family fortune. She pressed the doorbell, hearing it echo inside. Footsteps approached slowly, then the door opened to reveal an elderly man with Richard's jawline but gentler eyes. Vernon Hayes? Monica asked. Recognition flickered across his face. You're Richard's wife. Monica Hayes. May I come in? I've come a long way to speak with you. Inside, the townhouse was modestly furnished but immaculate. Vernon moved carefully with a cane, leading her to a sitting room lined with bookshelves. Tea, he offered. Please. As Vernon disappeared into the kitchen, Monica studied the photographs on the mantel. A younger Vernon with a woman and child. Construction sites. Office parties from decades past. One photo captured her attention, a groundbreaking ceremony for a building on Wacker Drive. The Hayes Building. Richard stood beside Vernon, both holding ceremonial shovels, smiling. That was the last project we worked on together, Vernon said, returning with a tea tray. Before the disagreement. What exactly was this disagreement? Monica asked, accepting a cup. Vernon settled into an armchair, studying her. Why are you here, Mrs. Hayes? After all these years. Richard is divorcing me, she said simply, rather publicly and cruelly. That sounds like my nephew, Vernon nodded. And you're seeking, what? Sympathy? Money? Truth, Monica replied. About the Hayes Building project. About why you were suddenly out of the company. About July 16th, 18 years ago. Vernon's hand trembled slightly, tea spilling onto his saucer. Who told you about that date? No one told me. I found evidence, connecting Richard to insurance fraud, to the fire, and possibly to the night watchman who supposedly left town just before it happened. The old man set down his cup. You've been investigating your own husband? For 18 years, Monica confirmed. At first, just to protect myself, then to understand who I'd really married. And now, she leaned forward, to make sure he doesn't walk away from this marriage with everything while I get nothing. And what do you think I can offer? Your testimony about what really happened that night. About how Richard used the insurance money to launch his real estate empire in Atlanta. Vernon was silent for a long moment. Then, do you have children, Mrs. Hayes? A daughter, Zara. She's 19. Does she know what kind of man her father is? She's beginning to learn. Vernon nodded slowly. The night watchman's name was Carlos Rodriguez. He didn't leave town. Richard told me he paid him to disappear after the fire went wrong. Went wrong. Monica pressed. It was supposed to be empty, just insurance fraud. But Carlos found a homeless man who'd broken in to escape the cold. He tried to get him out. Monica felt her stomach tighten, and Richard said there was a struggle. The man fell, hit his head. Carlos panicked, completed the job anyway. Richard helped cover it up. There was a death, Monica whispered. Not just fraud. Why do you think I walked away from everything? My own company. Vernon's eyes had grown distant. Richard paid Carlos $3 million to disappear. Made me sign over my shares. Said if I ever spoke about it, he'd implicate me too. Monica removed a digital recorder from her purse. Would you be willing to make a statement? Officially? Later, in her hotel room, Monica reviewed her notes, adding Vernon's testimony to her evidence file. Outside her window, Chicago's skyline glittered against the night sky, cold and beautiful. Her phone chimed with a text from Zara. You okay? Reporters still camped outside the house. Then another message from Marcus, security holding. Package delivered to your hotel. Front desk has it. The package turned out to be a small care box, premium coffee, her favorite dark chocolate, a phone charger, and a handwritten note. Stay strong. You've prepared for this. M. The simple gesture, remembering what comforted her, made her throat tight. She called him, curling up on the hotel bed. Thank you for the care package, she said when he answered. You mentioned once that hotel coffee is always disappointing. Marcus replied, his voice warm despite the professional tone. How's Zara? Safe. Worried about you. She ordered pizza for us and asked a lot of questions I didn't answer. Monica smiled despite herself. Smart girl. A comfortable silence stretched between them. Then, did you find what you needed in Chicago? Yes. Vernon confirmed everything. The insurance fraud, the cover-up, the payoff. She hesitated. And a death, Marcus. There was a death. His intake of breath was audible. Monica. It was the first time he'd used her first name. The intimacy of it wrapped around her like a blanket. I didn't know it would go this far, she admitted. I thought I was tracking financial crimes, not this. Are you sure you want to continue? He asked gently. If I back down now, Richard wins everything. The foundation, the properties, Zara's trust fund. But you'd be safe. I've been safe for 18 years, she said. And look where that got me. How many secrets would you collect before using them? Some wait decades for the perfect moment. What's your threshold for striking back? The Hayes Foundation headquarters occupied the top floor of a gleaming downtown Atlanta tower. All glass, chrome, and carefully curated art pieces selected by Monica herself over the years. As she stepped off the private elevator, she felt the stares of staff members who quickly pretended to be busy. News of the divorce had dominated local headlines for 3 days now. Hayes' divorce turns ugly. Real estate tycoon dumps wife at her own party. Monica Hayes, victim or gold digger? She walked purposefully toward the boardroom, where an emergency foundation meeting had been called. By Richard, of course, without consulting her, despite her position as executive director. Mrs. Hayes, her assistant Dana whispered, hurrying alongside her. They started 15 minutes ago. Mr. Hayes brought Ms. Cohen. Monica paused. Vanessa is in there? Yes, ma'am. And Mr. Hayes' attorney. And 3 new board members I've never seen before. A power play. Richard was stacking the board, probably with loyalists who would vote to remove her. Monica straightened her spine, smoothed her blazer, and pushed open the boardroom doors. 12 faces turned toward her. Richard sat at the head of the table, her usual position, with Vanessa beside him, looking uncomfortable in a conservative suit that Monica suspected Richard had selected. On his other side sat James Whitney, his shark-eyed attorney. "Monica," Richard said smoothly, "how kind of you to join us. We were just discussing transitional leadership for the foundation." "Transitional," Monica repeated, taking the only empty seat at the far end of the table, as far from the power position as possible. Another calculated move. Given the circumstances, Whitney interjected, "Mr. Hayes feels it would be inappropriate for you to continue as executive director during divorce proceedings. It creates a conflict of interest." Monica smiled thinly. Interesting perspective from a man who brought his mistress to his wife's birthday party. Several board members shifted uncomfortably. "Good. At least some still had consciences. We've already taken a preliminary vote," Richard continued, as if she hadn't spoken. "The board agrees that I should assume temporary leadership. A vote without the executive director present is invalid under our bylaws," Monica countered. "Article 4, Section 3. I helped write them, Richard. Or did you forget?" His jaw tightened. "We're trying to protect the foundation's reputation by installing a man under investigation by the SEC. Bold strategy." The room went silent. Richard's face darkened. "That's defamatory," Whitney warned. "It's factual," Monica replied, removing a folder from her briefcase. "I brought copies for everyone. The Securities and Exchange Commission has opened an inquiry into Hayes Development's last 3 commercial projects, focusing on potential investor fraud." She began distributing documents around the table. "They're particularly interested in the Riverside development, Richard's first major Atlanta project." "This is ridiculous," Richard snapped, wheeling his chair back slightly. "A fishing expedition by overzealous regulators." "Perhaps," Monica agreed pleasantly. "But donors tend to get nervous about such things. The Miller Foundation already called me this morning, concerned about their recent $5 million pledge." She turned to the board members. "Now, shall we vote again on whether Richard should assume leadership during this delicate time?" The vote was 8-7 in Monica's favor. Not the margin she'd hoped for, but enough. Richard's face remained carefully controlled, but she recognized the fury in his eyes, the same look he'd given her whenever she defied him during their marriage. As the meeting adjourned, board members filed out quickly, avoiding eye contact with either Hayes. Only Vanessa lingered, looking uncertain as Richard conferred with Whitney in hushed, angry tones. Monica gathered her papers, feeling a small victory that did little to ease the larger war ahead. Her phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. "All clear at home. Meeting successful." A small smile touched her lips as she typed back, "Round 1 to me." As she waited for the private elevator, Vanessa approached, her designer heels clicking on the marble floor. "Mrs. Hayes," she began awkwardly. "I wanted to say..." "Save it," Monica cut her off. "Whatever justification you're about to offer, I'm not interested." Vanessa flinched but persisted. "You don't know everything about the situation. I know my husband has a pattern," Monica replied coolly. "Young, beautiful women who make him feel powerful. It was me once 20 years ago. Now it's you. There were others between us." The elevator doors opened. Monica stepped inside, then held them open. "A word of advice? The prenup he's offering you? Get your own lawyer. Richard's version will leave you with nothing if he decides to trade up again." Surprise flickered across Vanessa's perfect features. "How did you know about?" "I know Richard," Monica said simply as the doors began to close. "Better than he thinks I do." Rain had started falling again by the time Monica reached her car in the underground garage. As she slid behind the wheel, her phone rang, an unknown Chicago number. "Mrs. Hayes? This is Detective Ramirez, Chicago Police Department. We received an interesting call from a Vernon Hayes regarding a cold case from 18 years ago." Monica's fingers tightened around the steering wheel. "I see. He mentioned you might have additional information." "I do," she confirmed, "but I'll need certain assurances before I share it." As she drove home through the downpour, the weight of what she'd set in motion pressed down on her. There would be no turning back now. Vernon had made his move, triggering the investigation she'd both wanted and feared. Marcus was waiting in the security vehicle when she pulled through the gates. He stepped out into the rain. opening an umbrella to shield her as she exited her car. "The reporters are gone for now," he said, walking close beside her. "But they'll be back." Under the shelter of the portico, they paused. Rain drummed on the umbrella above them. Water dripped from his shoulders where the umbrella hadn't quite covered him. "You're soaked," Monica said softly. "Occupational hazard," he replied with a small smile. Their eyes held. His hand, not holding the umbrella, moved slightly, fingers just brushing against hers, a touch that could be dismissed as accidental, yet sent electricity through her body. Her phone interrupted the moment, screen lighting up with a text from Richard. "I can't stop thinking about you. This can still be resolved privately. Call me." She showed Marcus the message, her expression questioning. "He's scared," Marcus said quietly. "He's trying a new tactic." The screen changed to an incoming call. Not Richard, but Chicago's area code. "I have to take this," she said. Marcus nodded, stepping back. "I'll check the perimeter." As he walked away, Monica answered the detective's call, knowing that her response would determine everything that followed. When did someone underestimate you? Thinking your silence meant weakness rather than strategic patience. Tell us about the moment you proved them wrong. "Mom, I'm not wearing this." Zara stood in the doorway of Monica's bedroom, holding up the conservative navy dress Monica had suggested for the Hayes Foundation's quarterly donor presentation. "You want me looking like I'm headed to Sunday school when I'm presenting a cutting-edge technology initiative?" Monica sighed, setting down her earrings. "The board is traditional, Zara." They respond to women who look like accessories. Zara crossed her arms. "No thanks. I'll wear my black pantsuit." Monica recognized the stubborn set of her daughter's jaw, the same expression she saw in her own mirror during difficult negotiations. At 19, Zara wasn't just Richard's daughter or Monica's daughter. She was becoming her own force. "The pantsuit is fine," Monica conceded. "But remember, this isn't just about your proposal. It's about showing the donors that the Hayes family isn't falling apart despite Dad's midlife crisis." "I got the memo." Zara's expression softened slightly. "Don't worry. I won't embarrass you." "You never could," Monica said honestly. As Zara disappeared down the hall, Monica's phone buzzed with a text from Elise. "Chicago detective requesting formal statement next week. Whitney's trying to block Vernon's testimony. Foundation donors getting nervous. How's our girl?" Monica typed back. "Ready. Nervous. Brilliant." The truth was, Monica felt conflicted about involving Zara in tonight's foundation event. Richard would be there, their first public appearance together since the birthday disaster. But Zara's education technology initiative deserved this platform, and backing out would only feed the narrative that the Hayes women were in retreat. The doorbell rang downstairs. Marcus was early for security detail. When Monica opened the door, she found him in a charcoal suit rather than his usual security uniform. "You look different," she said, momentarily thrown. "Tonight, I'm attending as a foundation guest, not obvious security," he explained. "Less visibility, better protection for both of you." His eyes moved over her burgundy gown with quiet appreciation. The look sent warmth spreading through her body. "The cars are ready whenever you are," he added professionally. "We'll take separate vehicles?" Monica asked. "Yes. I'll arrive first, secure the perimeter. You," and Zara 10 minutes later. Always so careful, always so thorough. It was what made him exceptional at his job, and what made the tension between them both safe and maddening. The Hayes Foundation quarterly event was held at the High Museum of Art, the modern white building glowing against the night sky. Camera flashes greeted Monica and Zara as they emerged from the town car. Reporters shouted questions about the divorce, about Richard's absence from recent development meetings, about rumors of financial improprieties. Monica moved through them with practiced grace, one hand lightly on Zara's back, neither confirming nor denying anything with her polite smile. Inside the museum's atrium, Marcus stood near a pillar, scanning the crowd while appearing to admire sculpture. Their eyes met briefly across the room, a quick check-in, reassurance. "He's here," Zara murmured, nodding toward the bar. Richard sat in his wheelchair near the center of a group of major donors, Vanessa hovering attentively behind him. He positioned himself perfectly, making anyone who wanted to speak with Atlanta's biggest philanthropist pass by him first. Subtle, Monica commented drily. Should we avoid him? Zara asked. No. Monica straightened her shoulders. We walk over, exchange pleasantries, then move on. Show everyone this isn't awkward for us, even if it is for them. Richard's expression tightened as he watched them approach. The donors shifted uncomfortably, cocktails clutched like shields. Richard, Monica greeted him with a cool smile. Lovely event. Monica, his eyes narrowed slightly. I'm surprised to see you here. I heard the Miller Foundation pulled their pledge. They're reconsidering, actually, she replied smoothly, after learning about some concerning investment patterns. The implied threat hung in the air between them. Several donors exchanged glances. Zara, Richard said, turning to his daughter with forced warmth. You look lovely. Thanks, Dad. Zara's tone was neutral. Looking forward to your thoughts on my presentation tonight. About that, Richard began, his expression hardening. The board and I feel that, given the current situation, it might be better to postpone your initiative until... Until what? Zara interrupted. Until you're done trying to push Mom out? Until the newspapers get bored with our family? Until I'm too old to have ideas of my own? Silence fell over the group. Vanessa stared at her shoes. We'll discuss this privately, Richard said, his jaw tight. No need, Zara replied. I'm presenting tonight as scheduled. The board approved it last month. She walked away before Richard could respond. Monica lingered only long enough to offer the donors a warm smile. So wonderful to see you all supporting young innovators. If you'll excuse me. As she followed Zara, Monica caught sight of Marcus watching the exchange, a hint of admiration in his eyes. The presentation space had been set up in the museum's main gallery. Donors filled rows of chairs as Zara took the stage, looking far older than her 19 years in her black pantsuit and confident stance. Good evening, she began, her voice steady. I'm Zara Hayes, and tonight I'm asking you to help bring educational technology to underserved schools across Georgia. Monica watched from his side, heart swelling with pride as Zara outlined her vision. A learning platform that would connect rural students with urban resources, closing the opportunity gap. The presentation was flawless, the concept innovative yet practical. When Zara revealed the working prototype on the large screen, spontaneous applause broke out. Even Richard, watching from the back, couldn't hide his surprise at the sophistication of the project. With your support, Zara concluded, we can launch in 50 schools by next fall. Thank you. The standing ovation was immediate. Donors surged forward, checkbooks practically visible in their eagerness. Monica moved to her daughter's side, squeezing her hand. You were amazing, she whispered. Thanks, Mom. Zara beamed. Then her expression shifted as she looked past Monica. Incoming at 2 o'clock, Richard was making his way toward them, Vanessa trailing behind. Impressive work, he said to Zara, his tone genuine for the first time that evening. Truly innovative approach. Thank you, Zara replied cautiously. I'd like to discuss backing it personally, he continued. Outside the foundation, my company could provide additional resources. The offer surprised both Hayes women. Monica studied her husband's face, looking for the angle. Why? Zara asked bluntly. Because it's exceptional, Richard said. And because you're my daughter. His gaze shifted to Monica, something unreadable in his expression. Some things should remain separate from our current situation. Before either could respond, Richard's phone rang. He checked it, his face darkening immediately. I need to take this, he said, wheeling away abruptly. As donors continued to congratulate Zara, Monica slipped into the quieter hallway, needing a moment to process the evening's unexpected turns. She found Marcus waiting there, his back to the wall, ever vigilant. Your daughter was impressive, he said quietly. She was, Monica agreed, moving to stand beside him. Richard's reaction was unexpected. He recognized her talent. Marcus observed, perhaps there are limits to how far he'll go. The hallway was empty, the sounds of the gala muffled. For a moment, they stood in comfortable silence. "You look beautiful tonight," Marcus said, his voice low. "I've been trying not to notice." The simple honesty of his words caught her off guard. They'd maintained this careful distance for months. Professional exchanges layered with unspoken attraction, never acknowledged so directly. "Marcus, I know," he interrupted gently. "Bad timing. Complicated situation." She looked up at him, suddenly tired of caution. When is timing ever good? He turned toward her, their bodies now just inches apart. His hand rose hesitantly, fingers barely touching her cheek. "Monica," just her name, spoken like a question, like permission. She answered by closing the distance between them, her lips finding his in a kiss that started gentle but quickly deepened with months of restrained desire. His hand stayed respectfully at her waist while hers moved to his chest, feeling his heartbeat accelerate beneath her palm. When they broke apart, both slightly breathless, reality crashed back. The gala, the divorce, the investigation. "Richard, we should get back," she whispered, though she made no move to step away. "Yes," he agreed, equally motionless. For this stolen moment, in this quiet hallway, she slept safe for the first time and fled by sunrise, leaving an imprint in the pillow and a confession she wouldn't say. Would you sacrifice a new chance at love to finish settling an old score? Or can vengeance and passion coexist? The North Georgia Business Alliance annual convention wasn't just an industry gathering. It was the king-making event of Atlanta's commercial real estate world. Deals were made, partnerships formed, and reputations cemented in the chandeliered ballrooms of the Whitley Hotel. Monica arrived alone, having convinced Zara to focus on her finals rather than another corporate function. As she handed her coat to the attendant, whispers followed her progress through the lobby. 3 weeks since Richard's birthday stunt, and she was still headline material. "Monica Hayes, as I live and breathe." Thomas Whitfield, president of the Alliance, approached with arms outstretched. "We weren't sure you'd come this year, given the circumstances, and missed the best networking event of the season." Monica smiled, accepting his brief hug. "Never." "Richard's already inside," Thomas warned in a lower voice. "With his companion. I assumed he would be." What Thomas didn't know, what no one knew except Elise, was that Monica had timed her arrival specifically. The convention schedule showed Richard unveiling Hayes Development's new West Side project at 2 p.m. By 2:30, everything would change. The main exhibition hall buzzed with Atlanta's business elite. Monica moved through the crowd strategically, stopping to chat with foundation donors, accepting sympathy about the divorce while subtly mentioning her excitement about new directions for the Hayes Foundation. She spotted Richard holding court near the central stage, Vanessa at his side in a dress that matched his tie, a detail that made Monica suppress a knowing smile. She played that role once, the beautiful accessory. She wondered if Vanessa realized yet how confined that space would become. At precisely 1:55, Monica's phone buzzed with a text from Elise. In position. Detective Ramirez just arrived. Vernon's testimony recorded and notarized. Monica moved toward the side of the stage, positioning herself where Richard would easily see her during his presentation. Their eyes met briefly as he wheeled up the accessibility ramp. His confident smile faltered for just a second before he recovered, adjusting his tie. "Ladies and gentlemen," the moderator began, "please welcome Richard Hayes, CEO of Hayes Development, to unveil the transformative West Side River Project." Applause filled the room as Richard took command of the stage. Always charismatic, he launched into his well-rehearsed pitch about revitalizing Atlanta's historic West Side with luxury condominiums, upscale retail, and affordable housing components to serve the community. Monica watched the audience nod appreciatively, impressed by renderings of gleaming glass towers where abandoned warehouses currently stood. Richard had always known how to sell a vision, especially one that made investors wealthy. This 30-acre development represents not just the future of the West Side, Richard continued, but Hayes Development's commitment to Atlanta's growth. "With your investment, we break ground next quarter." Just as he finished, Monica saw Detective Ramirez enter the back of the hall, accompanied by two uniformed officers and Elise. Right on schedule. When now opening the floor for questions, the moderator announced. Monica raised her hand. The moderator, recognizing her, hesitated before reluctantly pointing in her direction. Mrs. Hayes, he acknowledged. Richard's face tightened as Monica stood. The room went utterly silent. I'm curious about the financing structure for the West Side project, she said pleasantly. Particularly how it compares to the Riverside development from 18 years ago. Richard's knuckles whitened on his wheelchair armrests. This isn't the forum for domestic disputes, Monica. This isn't about our divorce, she replied evenly. It's about business practices. The SEC has opened an investigation into the Riverside development's financing, your first major Atlanta project. I wonder if investors here know about those concerns. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Richard forced a laugh. My wife is understandably emotional during our separation. There's no SEC investigation. Actually, Elise's voice rang out as she moved forward. The Securities and Exchange Commission served Hayes Development with subpoenas this morning. She held up documents. And the Chicago Police Department has reopened their investigation into the Hayes building fire of 2005. The room erupted. Cameras flashed. Phones appeared, recording. Richard's face drained of color as Detective Ramirez approached the stage. Richard Hayes, the detective announced, the Chicago Police Department requests your cooperation with an ongoing investigation into insurance fraud, obstruction of justice, and potential manslaughter charges related to the Hayes building fire. Chaos ensued. Investors pushed forward, demanding answers. Reporters shouted questions. Vanessa stood frozen beside the stage, watching Richard with new eyes as his carefully constructed world began crumbling. This is a setup, Richard snarled into the microphone. My wife is trying to extort me during our divorce. Mr. Hayes, Detective Ramirez countered calmly. We have sworn testimony from Vernon Hayes and newly discovered evidence that contradicts statements you made to investigators 18 years ago. As security moved to control the situation, Monica slipped toward the exit. Her part was done. The truth she'd gathered for 18 years was now in official hands, beyond Richard's ability to bury. In the hotel lobby, she paused, suddenly lightheaded. The adrenaline that had carried her through was fading, leaving her shaky. Monica! She turned to find Marcus standing near the entrance, concern etched on his face. He wasn't scheduled to work today. What are you doing here? She asked. I saw the news alert, he said, moving closer. Thought you might need backup. The simple word, backup, so inadequate for what his presence meant to her. Behind them, the convention doors burst open as people streamed out, phones pressed to ears, spreading the scandal in real time. Can you drive me home? She asked quietly. In his car, Monica finally allowed herself to release the tension she'd been holding. Her hands trembled slightly as she fastened her seatbelt. Are you okay? Marcus asked, not starting the engine yet. I don't know, she admitted. I've waited so long for this moment, planned for it, but now that it's happening, having second thoughts? No, she said firmly. Richard made his choices, but this will affect Zara too. The foundation, everything we built. Marcus reached across the console, taking her hand in his. The touch grounded her, warm and steady. You didn't create this situation, he reminded her. You just refused to be its victim. Something about his words, the simple truth of them, broke through the last of her composure. 18 years of calculated patience, of swallowed anger, of evidence carefully filed away. All of it crashed over her at once. Marcus unbuckled his seatbelt and pulled her into his arms as the first sob escaped her. She clung to him, face pressed against his shoulder, finally allowing herself to feel everything she'd held at bay for so long. His hands moved soothingly across her back, his voice murmuring reassurances against her hair. When she finally looked up, their faces were inches apart, her tears subsiding. The kiss happened naturally, not the cautious, questioning one from the gala, but something hungrier, more urgent. His hands framed her face with gentle reverence that contrasted with the intensity of his mouth on hers. hers. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, reality reasserted itself. They were in a car outside the hotel, where her husband was being publicly investigated. Not the place, not the time. Yet she couldn't bring herself to care about propriety. Not anymore. "Take me home," she whispered against his lips. The drive passed in charged silence, his hand occasionally covering hers when traffic allowed. At her house, with the security gate closed behind them and the empty house waiting, the weight of the decision hung between them. Marcus walked her to the door, professional distance returning. "Will you be all right?" Instead of answering, Monica took his hand, drawing him inside. The door closed behind them, and with it, the last of her hesitation. In the privacy of her home, they came together with the intensity of attraction too long denied. His hands moved over her body with reverent exploration, each touch igniting responses she'd forgotten she was capable of feeling. Later, as afternoon sunlight filtered through bedroom curtains, Monica lay with her head on Marcus's chest, listening to his heartbeat slow to normal. His fingers traced lazy patterns on her bare shoulder. "I've wanted to do that for a very long time," he admitted quietly. Monica smiled against his skin. "I know. Me too." The hotel camera footage leaked online within hours. Richard screaming at Vanessa, throwing a glass that shattered against the wall. His empire wasn't the only thing collapsing. After years of maintaining perfect composure, when did you finally allow yourself to lose control? Was it worth the wait? Public exposure changes the rules overnight. Subscribe to witness the complete unraveling first. The morning news played on mute as Monica scrolled through her email, each message worse than the last. From Miller Foundation. Subject: funding pause. In light of recent allegations involving Hayes Development, and by extension the Hayes Foundation, we must temporarily suspend our grant commitment until... From Atlanta Business Chronicle. Subject: interview request. Mrs. Hayes, we are preparing an investigative piece on the Hayes business empire and would like your comment on allegations that foundation funds may have been used to... From Westwood Academy. Subject: scholarship gala. After careful consideration, we believe it would be best to remove the Hayes Foundation as our headline sponsor for this year's event. They're running scared, Elise said, pacing Monica's kitchen with her phone pressed to her ear. 3 board members have resigned already. The Carter Group is pulling out of the West Side development. Whitney's calling everyone, trying to contain the damage. Monica set down her tablet, rubbing her temples. And Richard, holed up at his Buckhead house. No charges filed yet, but Chicago PD is coordinating with the FBI now that there's potential interstate fraud involved. The last 4 days have been a whirlwind of legal meetings, crisis management calls, and reporters camped outside her gate. Zara had returned to Boston after a tearful confrontation, torn between loyalty to her mother and concern for her father. "What about the foundation?" Monica asked. Elise grimaced. "That's the immediate problem. Major donors are freezing funds. Without new contributions, we can't meet next quarter's grant commitments. The foundation's work, educational initiatives, community health programs, housing assistance, all hanging in the balance because of Richard's past crimes." The collateral damage was exactly what Monica had feared. Her phone buzzed with a text from Marcus, courier at the gate. Accepting delivery. Since the convention, he maintained professional distance in front of others while supporting her privately. Last night, he'd stayed late, holding her through hours of anxiety as media reports speculated on the Hayes Empire collapse. "Yes," she texted back, "but scan it first." Minutes later, Marcus appeared in the kitchen doorway, holding a large envelope. "It's clean." From Richard's attorney. Monica opened it to find formal foundation letterhead with a single-page resolution. Emergency board action. Effective immediately, Monica Hayes is removed as executive director of the Hayes Foundation pending investigation of financial improprieties. "They can't do this," Elise said, reading over her shoulder. "Not without a proper vote." "They did it anyway," Monica replied, continuing to read. Richard had installed Whitney as interim director and frozen her foundation credit cards and access codes. "We'll fight it," Elise insisted. This is clearly retaliatory. But Monica recognized the strategy. While she battled to regain control of the foundation, Richard would be working to discredit her publicly, painting her as a vindictive wife fabricating allegations during a bitter divorce. Her phone rang. Zara. Mom. Her daughter's voice sounded strained. Have you seen the Post article? Which one? They're saying you knew about Dad's illegal activities all along, that you benefited from them. There are quotes from anonymous foundation staff claiming you helped hide financial irregularities. Monica's stomach dropped. The counterattack had begun faster than she'd anticipated. None of that is true, Zara. I know that, Zara snapped. But my roommate's mom just called asking if I need to stay with them during this difficult time. My economics professor pulled me aside to ask if I was holding up okay with all the scandal. And 3 classmates have already sent me links to articles about Dad possibly going to prison. The pain in her daughter's voice made Monica's chest tighten. This was the cost she hadn't fully calculated. How Zara would suffer for truths that needed to be exposed. After the call ended, Monica stood at her kitchen window, watching rain streak the glass. Her carefully constructed life was unraveling thread by thread. The foundation she'd built over 18 years. Her reputation in Atlanta society. Her daughter's trust. All collateral damage in her pursuit of justice. What do you need? Marcus asked quietly from behind her. She turned to find him watching her with concern. Since that first night together, something had shifted between them. The professional boundaries giving way to something deeper, more vulnerable. Just stay, she said simply. Later that evening, wrapped in blankets on the couch as a storm raged outside, Monica showed Marcus the mounting evidence of Richard's counteroffensive. Social media attacks questioning her mental stability, financial news analyzing the foundation's irregular accounting, gossip columns hinting at her revenge campaign against her wheelchair-bound husband. He's playing the victim while painting me as unstable and vindictive, she said, setting aside her laptop. It's a predictable strategy, Marcus replied, his arm around her shoulders. Attack the whistleblower to distract from the actual crimes. But it's working. The foundation board voted unanimously to remove me. Richard couldn't contain his smile when the news broke. Marcus was quiet for a moment, his fingers gently stroking her arm. What if you change the narrative? Ow! Richard's counting on you fighting this defensively. What if instead you went on the offensive? Not just about his past crimes, but about his current attempts to seize control of the foundation. The press already thinks I'm the angry ex-wife, Monica sighed. So don't talk to the press, Marcus suggested. Talk to the people the foundation actually serves. The community leaders, the program directors, the families receiving assistance. The idea sparked something in Monica's mind, a different approach. Not fighting Richard through lawyers and press releases, but through the relationships she'd built over 18 years running the foundation. She turned toward Marcus, really seeing him. This man who'd been quietly supporting her, believing in her, even before they'd acknowledged what was growing between them. When did you get so wise about public relations? She asked, a small smile playing at her lips. I pay attention, he said simply, to what matters. The way he looked at her made it clear she was included in that category. Monica leaned forward, kissing him softly, gratitude and affection mingling with deeper feelings she wasn't quite ready to name. As the storm intensified outside, they found shelter in each other, physical connection becoming a refuge from the chaos their lives had become. In Marcus's arms, Monica found temporary escape from headlines and accusations, her body responding to his touch with an abandon that surprised her. Morning found them still on the couch, tangled in blankets, Marcus's protective arm draped across her even in sleep. Outside, the storm had passed, leaving behind clear skies and fallen branches. Destruction and renewal side by side. When cornered, would you sacrifice your reputation to protect those you love or protect yourself at all costs? Your answer reveals your true character. Vernon Hayes arrived in Atlanta, looking nothing like the frail old man Monica had visited in Chicago. Dressed in a crisp suit and leaning only slightly on his cane, he carried himself with the quiet dignity of someone with nothing left to lose. Mrs. Hayes, He greeted Monica, accepting her handshake as Elise ushered him into the conference room. "Quite the storm you've kicked up." "We've kicked up," Monica corrected him. "Thank you for coming." The law offices of Gardner and Associates offered neutral ground for today's meeting. Richard had finally agreed to preliminary settlement discussions after 2 weeks of escalating legal filings and public accusations. "Vernon," Richard's voice cut through the room as he wheeled through the doorway, Whitney at his side. His eyes narrowed at the sight of his estranged uncle. "I should have known you'd join this circus." "Hello, nephew." Vernon settled into a chair across the table. "It's been, 18 years? You look well. Prison hasn't claimed you yet." Whitney cleared his throat. "Let's maintain professionalism. We're here to discuss settlement terms." "We're here," Elise countered, "because your client has engaged in a systematic campaign to discredit my client while attempting to seize control of jointly built assets." For the next hour, proposals flew back and forth across the table. Richard's team offered Monica a fraction of the marital assets in exchange for her silence on unproven allegations. Elise countered with demands for half of everything, plus restoration of Monica's foundation position. Vernon sat quietly observing, occasionally jotting notes but offering no comment. Finally, Richard slammed his hand on the table. "Enough games. Here's my final offer." Whitney slid a document across the table. A comprehensive settlement agreement with a substantial financial package that came with extensive non-disclosure provisions. $10 million, Richard said. "The house, your car, a clean break." His eyes flicked toward Vernon. "In exchange, you both sign lifetime confidentiality agreements regarding any alleged improprieties from the past, including the Chicago fire?" Monica asked. "The death your insurance fraud caused?" "Alleged fraud," Whitney corrected quickly. "No charges have been filed." "Yet," Vernon added. Richard leaned forward, his voice dropping. "Be practical, Monica. Take the money. Rebuild your life. Because if you push this, I'll make sure you end up with nothing." For a moment, Monica was tempted. $10 million would secure her future. She could start a new foundation, free from Richard's influence. She could protect Zara from further public scrutiny. She looked at the signature line on the agreement, pen poised. "What about the man who died in that fire?" Vernon asked quietly. "Does his family get closure? Does he get justice?" Richard's jaw tightened. "There's a statute of limitations for a reason. What's done is done." "No," Monica said suddenly, setting down the pen. "It's not done. Not while you're still profiting from what happened." She slid the settlement papers back across the table and signed. "I didn't keep records for 18 years to settle for half measures." Richard's face darkened. "You're making a mistake." "Maybe," Monica acknowledged, "but it's my mistake to make." As the lawyers gathered their materials, Richard gestured for Monica to stay behind. When they were alone in the conference room, his demeanor shifted. "Why are you doing this?" he asked, his voice lower, almost pained. "We built everything together. The company, the foundation, our life. Did we?" Monica countered. "Or did I stand beside you while you built your empire on a crime? You never complained about the lifestyle it provided, because I didn't know the truth." She took a deep breath, steadying herself. "When did it happen, Richard? When did you become someone who could cover up a death for profit?" He looked away, his fingers fidgeting with his wheelchair controls. It wasn't supposed to happen that way. No one was supposed to be in the building. For the first time, Monica glimpsed something like remorse in his expression, a crack in the confident facade. "Then why not come clean when it happened?" she pressed. "Why pay Carlos to disappear? Why threaten Vernon into silence?" "Because I was already in too deep," Richard admitted. "The loan sharks would have killed me if I didn't pay them back. The fire insurance was my only way out." "Loan sharks?" This was new information. Richard laughed bitterly. "You think I built Hayes Development from nothing? I was drowning in gambling debts. The fire was my last resort." Monica stared at her husband. This man she'd spent half her life with, whose secrets she thought she finally understood, only to discover new layers of deception. "Is that supposed to make me sympathetic?" she asked. "That you committed fraud and covered up a death to pay gambling debts?" "No." Richard's voice hardened again. It's supposed to make you understand there's more to lose here than you realize. People I owed money to back then, they're still around. Still dangerous. Is that a threat? It's a warning. He wheeled closer. Take the settlement, Monica. For your sake. For Zura's. Some stones are better left unturned. As she left the conference room, Monica found Marcus waiting in the lobby, alert and watchful as always. Their eyes met across the space, a silent check-in that had become their ritual. How did it go? He asked as they walked to the car. Richard offered $10 million to keep quiet. She climbed into the passenger seat, suddenly exhausted, and implied there might be dangerous people from his past who wouldn't appreciate this all coming to light. Marcus's expression darkened as he started the engine, trying to scare you into settlement. Maybe, Monica conceded, or maybe he's telling the truth for once. They drove in silence for several minutes, Atlanta's skyline glittering in the distance. Monica's mind raced with new questions about Richard's past, about debts and threats, and how deep this might really go. He's desperate, Marcus finally said. Desperate men say anything. What would you do? She asked quietly. If you were me? Marcus considered this as he navigated through traffic. I can't answer that. The stakes are different for you. Your daughter, the foundation. But you wouldn't take the money and walk away. A small smile touched his lips. No, but I'm stubborn that way. By the time they reached her house, darkness had fallen. Inside, Monica kicked off her heels and poured 2 glasses of wine, handing one to Marcus. Stay tonight, she said. Not a question this time. Later, in the darkness of her bedroom, Monica's doubts and fears dissolved under Marcus's touch. His hands moved over her body with deliberate care, each caress erasing thoughts of settlement agreements and threats. When he kissed his way down her stomach, her back arched in anticipation, legal strategies forgotten. Their lovemaking had evolved from the urgent release of long-denied attraction to something more intentional, a physical conversation of trust and vulnerability. As she moved above him, his hands steadying her hips, Monica felt completely present for the first time in weeks, anchored by his touch, by the way he watched her with undisguised admiration. After, as they lay tangled in sheets, Marcus traced the curve of her spine with gentle fingers. Whatever you decide, he murmured against her hair, I'm with you. The simple declaration, free of pressure or expectation, settled something within her. After choosing hunger over fear, his world dragged him away. The silence that followed sounded like abandonment, even if it wasn't. How much would you accept to remain silent about injustice? Everyone has a price. What's yours? Accept their terms. Live with regret forever. Subscribe to witness her boldest move yet. The recording wasn't just Richard confessing to fraud. Monica explained, watching Elise's face as the audio played from her laptop. It was the location of the body. And tomorrow, excavation would begin. 5 years into their marriage, Richard had come home drunk after a reunion with old Chicago colleagues. Monica had recently discovered his third affair and installed a small recording device in his office. Not for divorce leverage, but to protect herself if he ever threatened to leave her with nothing. That night, Richard had called Carlos Rodriguez, slurring about keeping your mouth shut about the Hayes building basement and the homeless guy's body and the $3 million I paid you to disappear. Elise stopped the recording, her expression grave. This changes everything. Not just insurance fraud anymore. Involuntary manslaughter at minimum, Monica agreed. Conspiracy after the fact. They sat in Elise's office, blinds drawn against the afternoon sun and curious eyes. On the desk between them lay Richard's latest settlement offer, now increased to $15 million after Monica's refusal of the previous terms. He's getting desperate, Elise observed. But this recording, Monica, this isn't just divorce leverage. This is evidence of crime. I know, if you use this to pressure a better settlement without turning it over to authorities, we could both face obstruction charges. Monica nodded, having wrestled with this very question for days. The recording had been her insurance policy, protection against Richard leaving her with nothing. She'd never intended to use it unless absolutely necessary. But now, with Richard attempting to seize the foundation and destroy her reputation, The calculation had changed. "I want to set terms," Monica said finally. "My own settlement offer. Non-negotiable, which includes turning over the evidence." "Yes, but on our timeline, with our conditions." For the next hour, they crafted a comprehensive proposal. Monica would retain 50% ownership of Hayes Development and full control of the foundation. Richard would resign from the foundation board and publicly retract the allegations against her. Financial assets will be divided equally. "And the recording?" Elise asked. "I'll provide it to authorities after the agreement is signed," Monica confirmed. "Richard can negotiate with prosecutors himself. He'll never agree to these terms. He will when he realizes the alternative is prison." As Monica gathered her things to leave, Elise touched her arm. "Are you sure about this? Once you hand over that recording, there's no turning back. Richard could face serious time." "He covered up a death for profit," Monica replied, "then built an empire on it. Actions have consequences." Back home, Monica found Marcus in her kitchen preparing dinner, a domestic scene that still surprised her each time she encountered it. Over the past weeks, he'd gradually moved from security guard to lover to something more undefined. His clothes now occupied a drawer in her bedroom. His favorite coffee mug sat in her cabinet. "How did Elise take the recording?" he asked, setting down the knife he'd been using to chop vegetables. "About how you'd expect." Shocked, concerned about legal implications, Monica slipped off her jacket, moving to stand beside him at the counter. "I'm delivering settlement terms to Richard tomorrow." Marcus nodded, his expression neutral though his eyes betrayed concern. And then we see if he values his freedom more than his pride." They worked together to finish preparing the meal, moving around each other with the easy familiarity of a couple who'd been together far longer than they actually had. This unexpected domesticity had become Monica's anchor amid the legal chaos. Simple moments of normalcy that reminded her life would continue after the storm passed. Over dinner, they carefully avoided discussion of Richard, the foundation, or the recording. Instead, Marcus told stories about his time in military intelligence, about the small Georgia town where he'd grown up, about the classic car he was restoring in his spare time. Monica found herself laughing for the first time in days. The weight of decisions temporarily lifted. "Move in with me," she said suddenly, surprising herself as much as him. Marcus set down his wine glass, studying her face. "Are you sure?" "With everything happening." "Because of everything happening," she corrected. "Life's too short for hesitation." His smile spread slowly, warming his eyes. "Okay." Later, as moonlight filtered through bedroom curtains, their lovemaking carried a new intensity. Celebration mingled with the awareness of commitments made. Marcus's hands moved over her body with reverent possessiveness, his mouth tracing paths that made her gasp and arch against him. Afterward, wrapped in sheets and each other, Monica traced the outline of his jaw with her fingertip. "What happens after all this is resolved?" he asked quietly. "With the foundation? With us. I rebuild," she replied simply. "The foundation first, then my life." She pressed a kiss to his shoulder. "Our life, if you want that." "Ido." His arms tightened around her. "But I worry about the cost to get there." "What do you mean?" Marcus shifted to look at her directly. "Richard won't go down quietly. When he realizes you have that recording, he'll lash out. Not just at you, but at everyone around you." "I can handle Richard." "I know you can," he said softly. "That's not what concerns me. It's what exposing all this will do to Zara, to the foundation's work, to the communities depending on those programs." Monica pulled back slightly, studying his face. "Are you saying I shouldn't use the recording?" "I'm saying choices have ripple effects." His hand found hers under the sheets. "Just make sure you're prepared for all of them." Morning brought clarity and resolve. As Monica dressed for her meeting with Richard, selecting a structured navy suit that felt like armor, she considered Marcus's warning. Using the recording meant justice for a long-ago death. It meant protecting herself from Richard's attempts to destroy her. But it also meant public scandal that would affect innocent people, foundation staff, grant recipients, and most importantly, Zara. Richard was waiting in the private dining room of the Capitol Grill when Monica arrived. Without Whitney present, his demeanor was less combative, almost weary. "You look well," he offered as she sat across from him. "Let's not pretend this is a friendly lunch," Monica replied, placing a sealed envelope on the table between them. "My terms, non negociable." Richard didn't touch the envelope. "Why are we really here, Monica? After 18 years, why now?" "Because you tried to humiliate me at my own birthday party. Because you're attempting to seize the foundation I built. Because you're spreading lies about me to cover your own crimes. Is that all?" A hint of the old Richard, perceptive, challenging, surfaced in his expression. Monica hesitated. What else would there be? "The security guard," Richard said quietly. "Marcus Davis. My sources tell me he's become more than an employee." Heat crept up Monica's neck, but she kept her expression neutral. "My personal life is no longer your concern. It is when you're sleeping with someone on my payroll." "Your payroll?" Richard smiled thinly. "Who do you think recommended him to your security service 5 years ago? After your last guard proved inadequate." The implications of his statement hung in the air between them. Monica's mind raced, cataloging every conversation with Marcus, every confidence shared. "You're lying," she said finally. "Am I?" Richard pushed the envelope back toward her unopened. "Ask him yourself. Ask him where he worked before joining your security detail. Ask him why he left Hayes Development Security Operations. Foundation," he said, "not as charity, but as legacy, with her name hidden in the blueprint." That's when wanting turned into responsibility. 2 worlds, 1 heart. How many times have you performed belonging just to keep people comfortable? Confess the role you play. Monica sat in her car outside the Hayes Foundation headquarters, Richard's words echoing in her mind. 5 days had passed since their lunch meeting, 5 days of watching Marcus with new eyes, searching for signs of deception. She hadn't confronted him directly. Not yet. First, she needed to verify Richard's claim independently. The foundation building stood quiet in the early morning light, most staff not due for another hour. Using her emergency key card, the one Richard's team hadn't deactivated, Monica slipped through the side entrance. The HR office was locked, but as a founder, Monica knew the override code. Inside, she went directly to the personnel files, searching for Marcus Davis's original application and background check. The file was thin. Security contractors were technically employed by Sentinel Services, not directly by the foundation. But there it was, on his resume, Hayes Development Security Operations 2013 to 2014. 1 year working directly for Richard before joining Sentinel and being assigned to Monica's detail. A detail Richard had apparently recommended. Monica's hands trembled as she replaced the file. Not from anger, but from doubt. Had everything between them been a lie? A long game orchestrated by Richard to monitor her? She drove to Sentinel Services next, using her foundation credentials to request Marcus's employment records for security clearance verification. The office manager hesitated until Monica mentioned potential liability issues, then produced the file. Highly recommended by Mr. Hayes personally. Read the note on Marcus's transfer request to the foundation detail. Client specifically requested. By noon, Monica had confirmed that Marcus had indeed worked for Richard directly before being positioned as her security detail. What she couldn't determine was why, or whether his feelings for her were genuine or part of some elaborate surveillance. Her phone buzzed with a text from the man himself. Meeting with Foundation community partners went well. Several committed to continued support regardless of leadership changes. "See you at home later." Home. The word landed differently now, tainted by suspicion. "Yes," she texted back. "We need to talk." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then reappeared. "Everything okay? Just need to discuss something. Nothing urgent." That evening, Monica watched Marcus move around her kitchen, preparing dinner as he'd done countless times in recent weeks. His movements were relaxed, confident, a man comfortable in his surroundings. In their relationship, "How was your day?" he asked, chopping vegetables with practiced efficiency. "Illuminating," Monica replied, studying his face for reaction. "I visited the foundation and Sentinel Services." His hands paused briefly before resuming their rhythm. "Any particular reason?" I was curious about your employment history. The knife stopped entirely. Marcus set it down carefully, turning to face her. His expression was cautious, but not surprised. Richard told you. Not a question, a statement. So it's true, Monica said, her voice steady despite the churning in her stomach. You worked for him before being assigned to me. Marcus leaned against the counter, arms crossing over his chest. Yes, for about a year after I left military intelligence. And then he arranged for you to be my security detail. He requested me specifically, yes. Monica's fingers tightened around her wine glass. What? Initially? To keep tabs on you. This was 5 years ago, when he first suspected you might be gathering evidence against him. The confirmation felt like a physical blow, though she prepared herself for it. So our entire relationship has been what? Surveillance? Reporting back to Richard. At first, Marcus admitted, holding her gaze. For about 6 months. Then I stopped. Why? Because I realized what kind of man he really was. The things he was involved in. The way he treated you. His expression softened. And because I started to care about you as more than just an assignment. Monica laughed bitterly. How convenient. It's the truth. Marcus moved toward her, stopping when she raised a hand. I left Hayes Development because I discovered financial irregularities I was asked to ignore. Security breaches that weren't really breaches. What does that mean? It means Richard was using security protocols to cover illegal activities. When I raised concerns, I was transferred to Sentinel with a recommendation to watch you instead. And I'm supposed to believe you've been protecting me all this time? Not reporting back. Check my phone, Marcus offered. My emails. I have nothing to hide, except the fact that you've been lying to me for 5 years. Not lying, he corrected, waiting for the right time to tell you. Monica stood, needing distance. And when exactly would that have been? After we slept together? After I asked you to move in? After I was sure you wouldn't push me away? Marcus said quietly. Because by then, I was already in love with you. The declaration hung in the air between them. Monica wanted to believe him, desperately wanted the man she'd fallen for to be real, not another manipulation in Richard's game. I need proof, she said finally. Not just words. Marcus nodded slowly. I have something better than proof. I have evidence against Richard. Evidence I've been collecting since I realized what he was doing. He retrieved his laptop, opening a password-protected folder labeled Insurance. Inside were documents, photos, and audio files dating back 4 years. I started my own investigation after I stopped reporting to Richard, Marcus explained. At first to protect myself, if he ever came after me. Then to protect you if you ever needed leverage. Monica scrolled through the files, surveillance photos of Richard meeting with questionable business associates, recorded conversations about zoning manipulation, emails discussing investor manipulation. Why didn't you come to me with this sooner? She asked. The same reason you kept your evidence hidden for years, Marcus replied. Timing and fear of not being believed. As she continued examining his evidence, Monica felt her certainty wavering. The detailed nature of the documentation, the risks Marcus would have taken to gather it, it didn't align with someone still loyal to Richard. I'll need time, she said finally, to process this. I understand. He gathered his keys and wallet. I'll stay in my apartment tonight. As he moved toward the door, Monica called after him. Marcus. He turned, hope flickering briefly in his eyes. If what you're saying is true, if you've been protecting me all this time, why take such a risk? His answer was simple. Because some things are worth risking everything for. After he left, Monica sat alone with his laptop, still open to the evidence folder. The question wasn't just whether to believe Marcus, but whether to use his evidence alongside her own, creating an even stronger case against Richard, but potentially exposing Marcus to legal scrutiny as well. The doctor named a price that mocked mortals. She reached for his hand before he could speak. We'll find it together. No more pretending. Have you been called a gold digger, a liability, a mistake, because you dare to be loved out loud? How did you keep your dignity when they wanted your shame? Tell us in the comments. The temporary office space Monica had leased in Midtown felt worlds away from the Hayes Foundation's gleaming headquarters. folding tables instead of custom desks, donated computers instead of state-of-the-art technology. A team of just 6 people, all foundation employees who had resigned in protest when Monica was removed. The Clayton County Shelter Program called, Dana reported, setting down a stack of message slips on Monica's makeshift desk. They're still hoping we can help with their funding gap after the foundation pulled out. Monica nodded, adding it to her growing list of programs left vulnerable by Richard's leadership changes. Tell them we're working on alternative funding sources. I'm meeting with Belridge Partners tomorrow. 3 weeks had passed since Monica's confrontation with Marcus. 3 weeks of cautious reconciliation as she verified his claims independently and came to terms with the complicated truth. He had initially been Richard's spy, but had switched allegiances long before their relationship turned personal. Now, they worked together, along with Elise and a small team of loyal foundation staff, to build what Monica was calling the Community Resilience Project. Not quite a rival foundation yet, but a vehicle to channel support to programs Richard had abandoned. Mrs. Hayes, a young woman, appeared in the doorway, nervously clutching a portfolio. I'm Aisha Reynolds from the East Lake Technology Initiative. We had an appointment. Of course, please come in. Monica cleared space on her crowded desk. And please call me Monica. East Lake had been one of Zara's pet projects through the foundation, providing computer training and equipment to underserved communities. Under Richard's new leadership, its funding had been redirected to flashier, more photogenic programs. We've managed to keep the core classes running, Aisha explained, spreading photos across the desk. But without the next equipment upgrade, we'll fall behind industry standards. How much do you need to bridge the gap? $80,000 for equipment, another $40,000 for instructors. Monica made notes, calculating possibilities. I'm meeting with several potential donors this week. I can't promise the full amount immediately, but we should be able to cover the instructors at minimum. Aisha's relief was visible. That would keep us operational through the quarter. The kids really depend on these programs. For some, it's their only path to tech careers. After Aisha left, Monica continued working through funding strategies, barely noticing as afternoon faded to evening. The foundation had been her life's work. Seeing its mission compromised under Richard's vindictive leadership fueled her determination to create alternative support structures. Her phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. Channel 4 running a story on Hayes Foundation program cuts. You should see this. Monica switched on the small office television just in time to catch the report. Multiple community programs formerly supported by the Hayes Foundation have seen their funding reduced or eliminated in recent weeks. Sources inside the foundation cite strategic restructuring, but program directors tell a different story. The camera cut to interviews with leaders from 3 different nonprofits, all expressing shock at sudden funding cuts. Then, unexpectedly, Richard appeared on screen in front of the foundation building. These decisions are never easy, he said, his expression appropriately solemn. But after discovering financial irregularities under previous leadership, we've had to make difficult choices to ensure the foundation's long-term stability. The reporter turned to the camera. Mr. Hayes declined to specify what irregularities were found, citing ongoing legal matters. Meanwhile, his estranged wife Monica Hayes has established what she calls a temporary initiative to support affected programs. The story concluded with a brief clip of Monica outside her temporary office, stating simply, "These community partners shouldn't suffer because of personal disputes. We're working to maintain critical services during this transition." As the segment ended, Monica's phone rang. Zara, calling from Boston. "I saw the news," her daughter said without preamble. "Dad's cutting all my programs, isn't he?" "Not all," Monica hedged. "But yes, many of the community-based initiatives." "Because they were my projects? Or yours?" "Probably both," Monica admitted. "How are you holding up?" Zara sighed heavily. "My roommate's sick of me stress baking at 2 a.m. My professors keep giving me extensions I didn't ask for. And Dad calls daily, trying to convince me to transfer to Emory, so I can help with the foundation restructuring. And what do you want? I want my parents to stop using the foundation as a battlefield. Zara said bluntly. These are real people's lives you're both messing with. The criticism stung, but Monica recognized its validity. You're right. That's why I'm trying to build support outside the foundation structure. Is that sustainable? Not indefinitely, Monica acknowledged. But it keeps programs running while the legal issues resolve. After ending the call, Monica gathered her things to leave, fatigue settling into her bones. The temporary office lacked the security of the foundation building, so she was careful to lock sensitive documents in the fire safe each night. Outside, Marcus waited in his car, alert as always. Things between them had stabilized into a cautious new normal, professional in public, carefully rebuilding trust in private. He hadn't moved back in, instead spending occasional nights when invited. Productive day? He asked as she slid into the passenger seat. Getting there, we secured bridge funding for 3 programs and have meetings with 2 potential major donors tomorrow. As they drove through evening traffic, Monica noticed they weren't heading toward her house. Where are we going? Small detour. Marcus replied with a hint of mystery. There's something you should see. 20 minutes later, they pulled up to a community center in South Atlanta. One of the foundation's earliest projects renovated during Monica's 2nd year as director. Light spilled from its windows despite the late hour, and the parking lot was nearly full. What's happening here? Monica asked as Marcus led her toward the entrance. East Lake Technology Initiative's graduation ceremony, he explained. Aisha mentioned it during her meeting with you today. I thought you might want to see what your bridge funding is actually saving. Inside, the community room had been transformed with balloons and a makeshift stage. About 30 students of various ages sat in rows wearing matching blue t-shirts, while family members filled chairs along the walls. A projector displayed Level 1 certification graduates above the stage. As Monica and Marcus slipped into seats at the back, Aisha was presenting certificates to each student, describing their accomplishments and future goals. The pride on each face as they accepted their recognition made Monica's throat tight with emotion. This program was 3 days from shutting down when your team found emergency funding, Marcus said quietly. Now these students can complete their certifications. After the ceremony, Monica congratulated the graduates, careful to keep a low profile. This was their moment, not a photo opportunity. As they were leaving, Aisha caught up with them in the parking lot. I didn't realize you were coming, she said, slightly breathless. I would have acknowledged you during the ceremony. That wasn't necessary, Monica assured her. I just wanted to see the program in action. Aisha glanced between Monica and Marcus, a knowing smile touching her lips. Well, thank you both. For everything. Back in the car, a comfortable silence settled between them as Marcus drove toward Monica's house. The evening had reminded her why the foundation work mattered. Beyond the power struggles, beyond the Hayes name, real lives were being changed. At her front door, Monica hesitated before asking, "Would you like to come in?" Marcus studied her face, reading the invitation behind the simple question. "Are you sure?" Instead of answering, she kissed him, the first time she had initiated since learning about his past connection to Richard. His response was immediate but gentle, hands coming to rest lightly at her waist as if afraid to presume too much. Inside, their reconnection carried the weight of conscious choice rather than just passion. Each touch, each kiss felt deliberate, Monica mapping the truth of her feelings against the complicated reality of their beginning. Later, in the quiet of her bedroom, Monica traced patterns on Marcus's chest as he held her close. "I can't promise this will be easy," she said softly. "The situation with Richard, the foundation, the legal battles, it's going to get worse before it gets better." "I know," he replied, pressing a kiss to her forehead. "But some things are worth fighting for." The simple conviction in his voice settled something within her, the recognition that amid all the complexities and betrayals, this connection was real. Flawed, complicated, but genuine. The headline smiled. The article gutted. Her buried contract surfaced, and with it, the version of her she hoped he'd never meet. Would you extend compassion to someone who participated in your humiliation? Or does mercy have limits? The envelope arrived without a return address, delivered by courier rather than regular mail. Monica signed for it distractedly, in the middle of a conference call with potential donors for the Eastlake program. "I'll need to call you back," she said, staring at the contents now spread across her kitchen table. Inside had been copies of old emails, correspondence between her and Richard from 15 years ago, during the early days of the Hayes Foundation. Messages discussing donor classifications, suggested contribution levels, and special handling for major supporters. Taken out of context, the emails painted a picture of calculated manipulation rather than standard nonprofit cultivation practices. Worse, someone had highlighted passages and added sticky notes with phrases like deliberate targeting and psychological pressure tactics. Monica's hands trembled as she gathered the pages, recognizing Richard's strategy immediately. He was building a case that she had always been a willing participant in questionable foundation practices, not a whistleblower with clean hands, but a co-conspirator turning on him when convenient. Her phone rang. "Elise, have you seen the Post website?" her attorney asked without preamble. "No, why?" "They're running a story titled Hayes Foundation, A History of Donor Manipulation." It quotes internal documents suggesting you and Richard together developed strategies to pressure wealthy donors. Monica closed her eyes briefly. "Let me guess. Emails from 2008 about donor cultivation? How did you know?" "Because I just received copies with helpful highlighting and commentary." Elise sighed heavily. "Richard's getting desperate. This is classic misdirection, trying to make you look equally culpable. Will it work?" "It might muddy the waters with public opinion. The legal issues are different." Elise paused. "We should discuss your Chicago detective meeting. If Richard is escalating, we need to move quickly with the recording." After ending the call, Monica sat at her kitchen table, re-examining the emails with growing anger. Standard fundraising practices presented as something nefarious. Her work building the foundation's donor base, work that had funded countless community programs, twisted into something shameful. The doorbell rang, startling her. On the security monitor, she saw Vanessa Cohen standing on her porch, looking nervously over her shoulder. Monica hesitated before pressing the intercom. "Yes, Mrs. Hayes, I need to speak with you," Vanessa said, her voice tight with anxiety. "It's important." Against her better judgment, Monica unlocked the door. Vanessa stepped inside quickly, her designer handbag clutched against her chest like armor. "Thank you for seeing me," she began, remaining near the door as if ready to flee. "I wouldn't come here if it wasn't urgent." Monica gestured toward the living room. "What's this about, Ms. Cohen?" Once seated, Vanessa placed her bag carefully beside her, smoothing her skirt with nervous hands. Gone was the confident mistress from the birthday party, replaced by someone visibly stressed. "I'm pregnant," she said abruptly. The words landed like a physical blow. Monica kept her expression carefully neutral, though her mind raced with implications. "Congratulations," she said evenly. "But I'm not sure why you're telling me this." "Because Richard doesn't know yet." Vanessa's eyes welled with tears. "And I'm afraid of what he'll do when he finds out." "What do you mean?" "He's not the man I thought he was." Vanessa looked down at her hands. "These past weeks, since everything started falling apart, he's different. Angry. Controlling." "That's not different," Monica said quietly. "That's who he's always been." Vanessa nodded slowly. "I'm starting to understand that. The things he says about you, about what he'll do to protect himself." She looked up, meeting Monica's eyes directly. "I don't want my baby born into this mess." The vulnerability in the younger woman's face was undeniable. Whatever Monica thought of Vanessa's choices, the situation was shifting. A child would now be caught in the crossfire. "What are you asking from me?" Monica asked. "Help." Vanessa's voice broke slightly. "Protection, maybe. I have information. Things Richard has said, plans he's making. I can help you if you'll help me and my baby." Monica studied the woman before her. Richard's pregnant mistress offering to turn informant. It could be genuine fear driving her. Or it could be Richard's latest manipulation tactic, using Vanessa to gather information or set a trap. "Why should I trust you?" Monica asked directly. You were perfectly happy to appear at my birthday party on Richard's arm while he humiliated me. Shame colored Vanessa's cheeks. I didn't know that was his plan. He told me it was a formal business event where he needed to make an announcement. She swallowed hard. I'm not asking you to like me or forgive me. I'm asking you to believe that I want to protect my child from what's coming. Before Monica could respond, her phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. On my way to you. Don't talk to anyone. Chicago Detective Ramirez arrested. Possible corruption. Cold dread settled in Monica's stomach as she looked at Vanessa with new suspicion. The timing was too convenient. How did you get past the security gate? Monica asked suddenly. Vanessa blinked, thrown by the change in subject. What? The gate at the end of the driveway. It's kept locked. How did you get through it? Vanessa hesitated. Richard gave me the code. Weeks ago, Monica stood, maintaining distance between them. I changed the code after the divorce filing. Try again. Fear flashed across Vanessa's face. Not the anxiety of earlier, but something sharper. Your security guard let me in when I explained it was urgent. Marcus isn't here today. Monica moved toward the security panel near the kitchen door. Who sent you, Vanessa? What's really happening? The younger woman's demeanor changed entirely, her posture straightening as she reached into her bag. Instead of a weapon as Monica feared, she removed a phone, checking a message. This isn't personal, Vanessa said, her voice now businesslike. But Richard needs certain guarantees before your meeting with Chicago authorities. Guarantees? Insurance that you won't use your recording. Vanessa stood, smoothing her dress with practiced poise. Richard is prepared to offer very generous terms if you agree to mutual silence. And if I don't, then the story about your foundation fundraising tactics is just the beginning. Richard has more, much more. That would destroy not just your reputation, but your daughter's future. The threat hung in the air between them. Monica's mind raced, calculating options. If Detective Ramirez had been compromised, Richard's reach extended further than she'd realized. How long have you actually known Richard? Monica asked, pieces clicking together. Before the physical therapy sessions, Vanessa's slight smile confirmed Monica's suspicion. We have mutual connections from our modeling days. When he needed someone to help manage his public image during the divorce, I was recommended. So the pregnancy is real, Vanessa said, her hand moving protectively to her stomach. That wasn't part of the original arrangement, but it does provide additional motivation for a clean, quiet resolution. The sound of a car pulling into the driveway interrupted them. On the security monitor, Monica saw Marcus exiting his vehicle, moving with urgent purpose toward the house. Your watchdog arrives, Vanessa observed. Consider Richard's offer, Monica. For everyone's sake. When Marcus entered, he assessed the situation immediately, positioning himself between Monica and Vanessa. Everything okay here? He asked, eyes never leaving Vanessa. Miss Cohen was just leaving, Monica replied. After delivering Richard's latest threat, Vanessa collected her bag calmly. Not a threat, an opportunity for mutual protection. She moved toward the door, pausing to add, I'll need your answer by tomorrow evening. After that, Richard releases everything. After Vanessa departed, Marcus secured the house, checking each room before returning to Monica in the kitchen. Ramirez was arrested this morning, he explained, allegedly for tampering with evidence in multiple cases. His entire caseload is under review, including the Chicago fire investigation. Richard, Monica said simply, almost certainly. He's trying to discredit the investigation before your recording becomes official evidence. Monica sank into a chair, the weight of what they were facing settling heavily on her shoulders. Vanessa claims she's pregnant, says Richard will release damaging information about me and Zara if I don't agree to mutual silence. Marcus knelt beside her chair, taking her hands in his. Do you believe her? About the pregnancy? Yes, Monica admitted. That part felt genuine. The rest was clearly Richard's script. They sat in silence for a moment, the house quiet around them save for the ticking of the kitchen clock. The investigation derailed. New threats against Zara, a baby who would be Richard's child, Zara's half-sibling. The prosecution offered Richard a deal: reduced charges in exchange for names of accomplices. Marcus's phone rang at midnight. The prosecutor needed to speak with him immediately. Do you want a savior or a witness? If you're brave, write which one you've been chasing and why. Rain pounded against the windows of Monica's home, matching the tension building inside. Marcus paced the living room, phone pressed to his ear, his expression growing darker with each passing minute. When, he asked the caller, "Are you certain?" A pause. "I understand. Thank you for the warning." He ended the call, turning to Monica with grave eyes. "That was my contact at the prosecutor's office. Richard's attorney has been negotiating a plea deal all day. For the Chicago case?" Monica set down her tea, suddenly alert. "Yes, and part of his offer includes naming accomplices." Marcus hesitated. "Including me? You? How could you be an accomplice in something that happened before you even knew him?" "I can't," Marcus said simply. "But Richard is claiming I helped destroy evidence after learning about it. That I used my security position to access and remove documents from Hayes' development records." The accusation was absurd, yet Monica recognized its strategic value. By implicating Marcus, Richard was attempting to discredit both of them, painting Monica as a woman manipulated by her corrupt security guard, and Marcus as a co-conspirator rather than a whistleblower. "It's my word against his," Marcus continued. "And given my military background and security clearances, even being accused could destroy my career." Monica moved to the window, watching rain cascade down the glass. Outside, darkness had fallen early under heavy clouds. "He's trying to isolate me. Remove everyone I trust." "There's more," Marcus said quietly. "Richard's claiming I've been working against you all along, that I fed you false information to turn you against him during the divorce." Monica turned, studying his face, the man she'd grown to love despite their complicated beginning. "Do you think I believe that?" "No, but others might. The media, the foundation board, potential donors to your new initiative." The realization of Richard's strategy clarified in Monica's mind, not just discrediting Marcus legally, but poisoning the well of public opinion, creating doubt about everything she'd built. "There's only one way to counter this," she said finally. "Complete transparency about everything, including how we met, my original assignment from Richard." "Especially that," Monica confirmed. "We control the narrative by revealing it ourselves. Yes, you were initially hired to watch me. Yes, you discovered Richard's illegal activities instead. And yes, you gathered evidence to protect us both." Marcus looked skeptical. "That's a risky strategy. Less risky than letting Richard's version become the accepted truth." As they discussed options, Monica's phone rang, an unknown number with Chicago's area code. "Mrs. Hayes," a woman's voice greeted her. "This is Assistant State's Attorney Sophia Mendez from Cook County, Illinois. I'm handling the Hayes building investigation following Detective Ramirez's situation." "I understand," Monica replied, switching to speakerphone so Marcus could hear. "What can I do for you?" "We're reviewing all evidence in the case, including information about potential witnesses." Mendez paused. "Your husband's attorney has made some concerning allegations about Marcus Davis. Given your relationship with Mr. Davis, I wanted to speak with you directly." "I appreciate that," Monica said, meeting Marcus's eyes across the room. "What specifically has Richard alleged?" "That Mr. Davis accessed and removed company records without authorization. That he selectively provided you with misleading information to manipulate you into making false accusations. And that he may have fabricated evidence." "None of that is true," Monica stated firmly. "Perhaps, but we need to investigate any claim that could compromise our case." Mendez's tone remained professional but sympathetic. "Mr. Davis worked for Hayes Development before becoming your security detail, correct?" "Yes, and there's something you should know about that." Over the next 30 minutes, Monica laid out the full truth. Richard hiring Marcus to monitor her, Marcus discovering Richard's illegal activities instead, and their gradual transition from professional relationship to personal one. She explained how Marcus had gathered his own evidence separate from hers, how they had verified each other's findings independently, "This is unusually complicated," Mendez admitted when Monica finished. "But it actually helps establish Mr. Davis's credibility if he was willing to turn against his employer after discovering criminal activity." "What happens now?" Monica asked. "I need statements from both of you, separately, and all evidence Mr. Davis collected needs to be turned over immediately, with detailed explanation of how each item was obtained." After ending the call, Monica and Marcus sat in silence for several moments, rain still drumming against the windows. She didn't sound convinced. Marcus said finally, "She's doing her job," Monica replied, "investigating every angle. But now she has our version on record before Richard's narrative takes hold." Thunder crashed outside, momentarily illuminating the room in harsh white light. Marcus moved to sit beside Monica on the sofa, taking her hand in his. "I should have told you from the beginning," he said quietly, "about working for Richard, about how we really came to meet. Why didn't you?" Marcus stared at their joined hands. "At first, professional habit. You don't reveal undercover work. Then when things started changing between us, fear. Fear that you'd never trust me if you knew the truth." "When did you stop reporting to Richard?" "After 6 months. When I found financial records linking him to offshore accounts, receiving payments from contractors who won bids on Hayes properties. I realized he wasn't just hiding affairs or personal indiscretions. He was involved in serious financial crimes. And you started gathering evidence instead." Marcus nodded. "Initially for self-protection. If Richard ever discovered I'd stopped feeding him information about you, I needed leverage to keep him from coming after me." "When did it become about protecting me?" His eyes met hers, open and vulnerable. "When I watched you work 18-hour days to save a community health clinic Richard wanted to close for a luxury development. When I saw you remember every employee's name, their children's names. When I realized you were nothing like the calculating gold digger Richard had described." The simple honesty in his voice reached something deep within Monica. A recognition that whatever deception had begun their connection, what had grown between them was genuine. "I don't regret keeping evidence against Richard," she said softly, "but I regret not seeing who he really was sooner. All those years wasted trying to please someone incapable of true partnership." "You weren't wasting time," Marcus countered. "You were building the foundation, creating programs that changed lives. Raising your daughter, his understanding that her marriage hadn't defined her entire existence was yet another reminder of how different he was from Richard." The storm outside intensified, wind driving rain against the windows and sheets. Monica moved closer to Marcus, drawing strength from his solid presence beside her. "Whatever Richard does next," she said, "we face it together. Complete transparency." Together, Marcus agreed. Later that night, as the storm gradually subsided, they lay tangled in sheets, physical connection reinforcing their emotional commitment. Monica traced the outline of Marcus's face in the dim light, memorizing every plane and angle. "What are you thinking?" he asked, catching her hand and pressing a kiss to her palm. "That the truth is rarely simple," she replied, "and that sometimes the most unexpected beginnings lead to exactly where you're meant to be." His arms tightened around her, pulling her closer as their bodies fit together with familiar intimacy. Whatever battles awaited them tomorrow, with Richard, with prosecutors, with public opinion, tonight they found shelter in each other. Outside, the rain finally stopped. Inside, Monica made peace with the complicated path that had led her here. Richard's sentencing was tomorrow, but tonight, Monica had one final decision to make. The prosecutor's offer required her signature, leniency in exchange for full financial restitution. Could you forgive someone who withheld truth while claiming to love you? Where's your line between protection and deception? Mercy and justice rarely occupy the same space. Subscribe to witness her final choice unfold. 1 year later, Monica stood on the terrace of her new home, watching guests arrive for her birthday celebration. The modest farmhouse outside Atlanta couldn't have been more different from the mansion where Richard had orchestrated her humiliation 12 months earlier. This gathering was smaller, more intimate, foundation staff, community partners, close friends who had stood by her through the tumultuous year. No photographers, no society reporters, no performance of perfect marriage. Mom, the caterers need direction on the dessert table. Zara emerged from the house, tablet in hand, every inch the efficient event manager despite being home from college just 2 days. At 20, she carried herself with new confidence. The difficult year had matured her in unexpected ways. I told them to set up by the oak tree, Monica replied. Is there a problem? No problem, just options. Zara showed her the tablet screen, displaying various dessert arrangements. Marcus thought you might have a preference. At the mention of his name, Monica smiled. Where is he? Helping Dad from the car. The words still felt strange. Richard and Marcus in the same space, an uneasy truce established through months of legal negotiations and Zara's persistent pressure for family healing. Richard's legal fate had been settled through a complex plea agreement. No prison time in exchange for full financial restitution to fraud victims, resignation from Hayes Development, and 5 years of supervised release. The man who had once commanded Atlanta's business elite now lived quietly in a downtown condo, his empire dismantled, but his freedom intact. It had been Monica's choice in the end, signing the prosecutor's offer of leniency in exchange for restitution. Not for Richard's sake, but for Zara's, and for Vanessa's baby boy, now 6 months old. Her daughter's half-brother deserved to know his father, even the flawed version Richard had become. At the bottom of the garden path, Marcus appeared, guiding Richard's wheelchair through the gravel. Richard looked older, diminished somehow, without the trappings of power that had defined him for so long. Yet there was something else there too, a quieter dignity that occasionally surfaced in his interactions with his grandson. Monica moved to meet them, her simple sundress catching the late afternoon light. "Happy birthday," Richard offered, his voice carrying none of the commanding presence it once had. "The place looks good." "Thank you," Monica replied. "Zara's in charge of the party. I just show up and smile." "She gets that organizational ability from you," Richard acknowledged, a rare compliment that Monica accepted with a nod. As Zara appeared to escort her father to his designated table, Marcus hung back, watching the interaction with careful attention. Always the protector, even now when the threat had largely passed. "Relax," Monica told him when they were alone. "It's just a birthday party, with your ex-husband who once tried to destroy us both." Marcus reminded her, though his expression softened as he slipped an arm around her waist. "But I'm working on it." The Hayes Foundation continued its work under new leadership, a board-selected director with no connection to either Hayes. Monica now ran the Community Resilience Project as a separate entity, focusing on programs the foundation had abandoned. The arrangement wasn't perfect, but it preserved the services that mattered most. As twilight settled over the gathering, Monica found herself standing beside the dessert table, watching her reconfigured life unfold before her. Zara laughing with foundation colleagues, Richard holding his grandson, while Vanessa hovered nearby. Marcus chatting with community partners about upcoming initiatives. None of it resembled the life she had planned all those years ago when she married Richard. Yet somehow, it felt more authentic than the perfect image they had projected for 18 years. Marcus appeared at her side, champagne flutes in hand. "Penny for your thoughts?" "Just reflecting," she replied, accepting the glass. "On how differently things turned out than I expected." "Regrets?" he asked. Monica considered the question seriously. "Some. Not about how it ended, but about how long I accepted less than I deserved." The engagement ring on her finger caught the fading light. Not an ostentatious diamond like Richard had given her, but a simple band Marcus had offered 3 months ago with a promise of partnership rather than possession. She closed the folder containing Richard's final appeal letter. Some questions didn't need answers anymore, and some birthdays were meant for looking forward, not back. After surviving betrayal, would you choose certainty or freedom? Which costs more in the long run? New beginnings require vigilance to avoid old patterns. Subscribe to follow their continuing journey.